Hi all, welcome. I thought it might be fun to do a pick-a-card reading for Gemini season to see where we're at energetically. I have group 1, group 2, and group 3, and I'll give you guys a second to choose a group. Alright, well let's get started with group 1. I feel like there's a lot of trepidation around expressing a feeling, expressing some kind of emotion, or I think there's some kind of withholding here. With the Ace of Cups and the Two of Pentacles, the Two of Discs, it does feel a lot like being careful about what you're giving to a situation emotionally. Now, this coming Gemini season is going to be a lot about expansion and coming back into the heart-centered space. And so I feel like you can perceive that intuitively, but on a practical level, you're still kind of careful. You're sort of not necessarily walking on eggshells, but there's this sense that you can't put all your eggs in one basket, or you kind of know that it's unwise to, I guess, get a little bit carried away emotionally. The Two of Wands is sort of it's a pretty open-ended card, but it is about sort of strategically planning, moving into the world with a tangible plan. With the Two of Discs, that kind of reinforces the idea that this is something material. And I have to say, it's quite a balanced sort of energetic field here with you've got cups, you've got pentacles, and you've got wands. And what that says to me is you're kind of putting everything in its rightful place. It's almost like you're actually quite prepared for the upcoming Gemini season. Like you've got your head screwed on straight. There's a real sense of balance. And I don't know if it's something in the past that you worked through that has kind of made you ready to pounce on something or ready to reinvest your emotions into something that is much more realistic. You know, sometimes you go through the process of shedding an old feeling or an old paradigm because you realize that you were sort of under a state of delusion or confusion about what that situation was. And it's almost like you've kind of gotten to that point where you've achieved enough clarity that your moves moving forward are much more rational, but yet you still have enough emotion that it's an authentic and meaningful investment. Let me pull an oracle card for you. Okay, I don't know if you speak Russian, I certainly don't, but translated, it means to help you look at it all in a different way. And I really feel like that's reinforced by the Two of Wands. There is a perspective shift that I think that you have already achieved that has helped you look at this new coming season with clarity and, an open heart, an open mind, and the awareness of how to move forward one step at a time to achieve whatever goal or whatever kind of insight that you feel like you have achieved. I really feel like you're starting off on a good footing, and that's a very, very positive message. So very well done. Thank you, group 1. I'm going to move on to group 2. All right, group 2, thank you for joining me. Let's get started. I feel like there has been an ultimate ending to a certain way of thinking. And I really think that there has been a need to shed some sort of belief system that was based around negativity and deception. And perhaps you have felt like you were the victim of lies or people not being forthright, and you came with an open heart and open mind, and it wasn't appreciated. And I really feel like you've got to let that go. There's something that is sort of weighing you down emotionally that isn't serving you anymore. The Seven of Swords says to me that, perhaps you have been a victim in your circumstances many times throughout the past. But the Death card is saying, that is a shell or a husk that is ready to be shed permanently. It's almost like this negative thought process has been not just holding you back, but it's actually been not allowing you to see the world in a more expanded, well-rounded way. With the Page of Cups here, this is really about emotional innocence. It's about sensitivity. It's about coming back to that feeling of things are going to be okay, and there is genuine affection between myself and another, or, the world is not that scary of a place. There's just this quiet, definitive, peaceful ending to this old way of thinking that I think will give you the space to move forward with much more, again, there needs to be a heart-centered approach to viewing the world. Something that, almost kind of makes you feel young again. I think that would be a really positive way to embrace this coming Gemini season, which is going to be a lot about expansion and a lot about neutralizing the perceived hostilities in the world. Now, not to say perceived that it's not happening, but I think that you get, especially if you are somebody who's keeping up with the news and current events, you really do get defeated. I really do think that's part of the programming, is for us to feel very weakened and defeated, but it's inevitable. If you're exposing yourself to those kinds of energetic fields, you just naturally will get infected by it. And I really think there is a need to put that to bed, or at least put that aside, put it in a box and bury it. And moving forward, to embrace this new season, this new cycle with your own emotional authenticity. Because I think that's going to give you a layer of not just resistance to that negativity, but it will expand your awareness where you might be lacking that connection. So let me pull an oracle card. This roughly translates to teach you how to let go. And I think that really is exactly the message. To allow something, a bugaboo, a way of thinking, a fixation, a negative mindset, let it go and move forward with a soulful revolution within your own mind and your own heart. And I think that's really going to help you embrace the new energies coming. I think it feels like nothing will ever change. It does feel like we're kind of stuck in a psychological rut. But I think if you can put to bed whatever has been harming you emotionally and let it pass and let it die, I think you're going to really, really get something out of this new cycle. And Gemini season is going to be a lot of fun for you. Okay, thank you, group 2. Now I'm going to move on to group 3. Welcome, group 3. Yeah, I think, I'm sure you noticed how the world jumped up upside down. I don't typically read reversals, but I really think that there's something about closing out a cycle for this new season, this new Gemini season. It's like the 8 of Cups here with the 7 of Swords. It's like you're really, really finally closing out something that had you emotionally invested in, perhaps way too much, perhaps you felt very betrayed by a certain deception with the 7 of Swords. And it's almost like you really have gotten over it, or you've gotten to a point in which it really feels like you're done. If that's not the case, I really think that that is the move for getting the most out of this upcoming Gemini season. It's like this season's going to be a lot about putting the brakes on a lot of what it felt like was this inertia towards chaos and revolution. Now, that's not to say that that's not still bubbling under the surface, but I feel like what it's going to feel like during this sort of Gemini season / cycle is it's going to really feel like a bit of a backslide into reestablishing our relationships with ourselves and perhaps with our closest. It's a return to feeling, it's a return to optimism, or at least there's a break here. And I think that if you can put the past behind you in a real way and not get hung up on whatever has been a sticking point for you, this is probably the sense that perhaps we all kind of feel a little bit like this, that a lot of our preconceived notions have been lies, and it can leave us in a state of confusion and despair. Like, what do we do now that we know that that was not real? And that's a legitimate feeling. But I think if you can really put your cup down, like if you can really just put that aside, put that in a box and say, yeah, I'm not going to engage with that emotionally anymore. Permanently, I want to expose myself emotionally to what actually serves me. I think that you can make space for something to come in that will engage with you much more authentically and really kind of recalibrate your sense of what is good and what is false. There's a sense of sort of an emotional neutrality here, and I think that that is actually really positive, because when we're not spun up or whipped up about something, we are on much more solid footing to follow our own intuitions about what is really our path and what has been a deviation or a misdirection. But let me pull an oracle card. This translates roughly to show you doors that haven't been opened before. And I think that is really what this is preparing you for, is this release of this past negativity to allow you to see where the cracks form, where the light is coming from underneath the cracks of the door, so that you can follow that. It's not necessarily a clear-cut direction, but I think that this season's going to shift your mindset just enough to where you can kind of get back on track in terms of following your own instincts about what your future path will look like. And, shedding this old false belief system is really going to serve you for this upcoming season. Okay, well, thank you, Group 3. And thank you to everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you again. Take care.